My name is Tamara. I am actually an oncology infusion nurse. I do the most of the educations at the clinic where I tell people about their new treatment plans. I am 50 years old. I was diagnosed in January of 2024 of stage 4 colon cancer with mets to the liver and the lungs. I didn't have any symptoms actually. I just went to my primary care doctor to have my annual physical in November of 2023. And they ran blood work, and she called me like a couple of weeks later after my blood work and said, "Hey, you're anemic." And I was like, "Anemic? That doesn't sound right." Because I had no signs of symptoms of anemia. At least as a nurse, I didn't see anything. Like I wasn't tired, eating ice, wasn't cold, working fine, sleeping well. So she said, I need you to see a hematologist because your blood levels are low. And then she had me come back and check my iron. And she says, your iron levels are like almost zero. Stores are almost zero. That's not normal. And she's like, have you been bleeding? And I'll, answer all those questions. No, I haven't bleeding. She's like, I want you to see a hematologist. And she was going to refer me to a hematologist. And I was like, oh, you don't have to do that. I already work for a hematologist oncologist. Just give me my paperwork and I'll just talk to my doctor. So I get back to my clinic and I kind of walk up to my doctor with a referral and she looks at it and she's like, who's this for? Like give it to the front desk. And I was like, no, this is mine. And she's like, what you need a referral for? And I was like, they say I'm anemic. And she just kind of looked at me and said, who? You're anemic? And I said, yeah. And she's like, the way you run and rip around here in this office, running around, you always complain you're hot. Or do you have any symptoms? She asked me. And then she was like, do you have a menstrual? And I said, no, I had a hysterectomy. And she's like, okay, have you been bleeding rectally? And I said, no. She's like, I don't think that's right. I see you every day in the way you work. Unless you're tired at home, you're not telling us. And I said, no, I feel fine. I have no issues. And she's like, okay, so let me draw your blood. They must have took somebody, and she was teasing me like, yeah, they must have took somebody's blood and labeled it as yours, and it's some old lady. And I was like, okay. So she redrew my blood to verify, and then she came back and she's like, yeah, you are severely anemic. Like you should be tired all the time. And I said, no. She's like, didn't you just do a hike of like 1,099 steps just a couple of months ago? And I was like, yeah, 2 weeks ago. And she's like, how'd you feel? So she's like, well, we need to get you a colonoscopy. And she's like, you sure you're not bleeding? And I said, you know who I am. I'm the type that would get a sample for you, call the lab, put my name on it, and then say, hey, I need you to check, look at this photo. And she laughed. She said, yeah, you're pretty diligent about your health. And she's like, okay, well, we need to do a colonoscopy because this doesn't make sense. So she called her doctor. I said, oh, I have a colonoscopy scheduled for January. She's like, no, we're not waiting to January. We need to do it now. We need to know what's going on with you. In the meantime, I'll give you iron and see how you do. So I got a couple of iron infusions. My iron went up, and then she called Dr. Friend and was like, hey, I need this nurse of mine who works for me. She needs to have a colonoscopy. I go and see the doctor, and he's like, before you can have your colonoscopy, I just need to talk to you. So he looks at my labs and he's like, oh, I think we need to do two things, an endoscopy and a colonoscopy, because I want to see why you're not absorbing iron, because you might have ulcers and things like that. So he said, we could do it both at the same time. And he asked me the usual questions. Are you bleeding? Da, da, da. And I said, nope. You feel tired? No. How are you working? Great. He goes, okay, well, you look good and you look healthy. So we set up for the um, endoscopy, colonoscopy before after Christmas, because I was like, I don't want to be going through the prep before Christmas. So set it after Christmas. So I go, I go to get the endoscopy and colonoscopy is done. And then he comes back, they wake you up, comes back and he's like, well, I look at your endoscopy. Everything looks great. Your esophagus looks good. Your stomach, you don't even have a sign of ever having an ulcer. Your small intestine in the beginning looks good. And I'm like, great, colonoscopy, let's go. And then he's like, now your colonoscopy. And I was like, what? And he's like, have you ever heard of something called FAP? And I'm like, kind of like trying to be like the nurse, like, I should know this. I'm trying to figure out what FAP is. And I thought, I don't know, maybe is it related to cancer or something? And he goes, no, it's called Familial Adenomatous Polyposis. And I said, not that I'm aware of. And he goes, okay, let me show you your colonoscopy, your photos. So he shows me the photos, and there's like these little pyramid shaped things. And I'm like, what is that? And he's like, those are polyps. And I said, that's a lot of polyps. And he goes, yeah, you have close to 500. He said, if I had to guess, you have close to 500 polyps. And I'm like, well, how do you get that? Is that from eating? Because I don't know what FAP is. And he's like, no, it's actually a genetic mutation. Someone in your family, whether your father or your mother, one of them have it, and you have it. And he's like, anybody in your family had colon cancer? I'm like, nope, not that I'm aware of. If anybody had any cancer, it's usually like breast or ovary or pancreatic, if I remember correctly. But I haven't seen any family with colon cancer or FAP, whatever it is you're talking about. And he's like asking about my parents' history. And I was like, no, they already had colonoscopy. My father's passed away. And he's like, well, this is what it looks like to me. But the only way we can make sure it is you have to have genetic testing. A couple of weeks later, it comes back, yes, I have FAP. And everyone's shocked. My hematologist oncologist, she's shocked. The doctor that did the colonoscopy, and then they had referred me to a GI surgeon. And when I had seen the GI surgeon, she explained to me, we usually take it out by 20, and usually somebody between the age of 35 to 42 has full-blown cancer, and they don't make it past 42, and you're 49, you would be an anomaly. Like, that doesn't normally happen. And then I go, okay. And she's like, well, look, what we're going to do is you have to take out your colon. If you have FAP, definitely have to take out your colon. But and then she goes, but if you have cancer, depending on stage 1 to 3, we can just take out the colon, then give you treatment afterwards. But if you have stage 4, you can't get your colon taken out. We have to treat you first. And I was like, okay. They were kind of worried about this little spot, but they seemed to be like, it looks okay. Biopsy came back inconclusive. All the other polyps were either precancerous or benign. So they're like, well, we need to do a CT that will tell us for sure if this little area has cancer, because we couldn't go too deep because we didn't want to perforate your bowel, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. So on January 19th, I get my colonoscopy done. No, my CT done. I get the CT scan of the abdomen, pelvic, and chest, abdomen, pelvic area. And now I'm at work and I'm talking to my boss about, hey, I'm going to have surgery. Let's work on my schedule. I don't know when. So we're talking about it. And then I get a call and I see it's the GI surgeon. And I'm like, why is she calling me? So I get on the phone with her and she's like, hey, Tamara, I know we have an appointment on Monday. So I was working on your chart and your scan came across and it's done. And I was like, oh, my scan is done. And she's like, yeah. And I kind of was like, do I need to sit down? And she's like, yeah, you need to sit down. And I said, okay. So I sat down and she says, that spot we were worried about, it is cancer. And I kind of was like expecting it, but not expecting it. And then she said, but you have stage 4. And I said, stage 4? And she's like, yeah, it's all over your liver. And then I kind of lost it a little bit. And then she said, you know what? Let me call your doctor. Are you at work? And I said, yeah, I'm at work. I'm in my boss's office. She said, don't leave. And I was like, I don't think I'm going anywhere, because I didn't expect to hear stage 4. I expected maybe that area to have cancer, but not. And so my boss is in the office with me and she's looking at me and she's like, what's wrong? And I just looked at her and I kept saying stage 4, stage 4. And she's like, what's stage 4? And I'm like, I have stage 4. And then she's like, runs out, goes find the doctor to bring my doctor into the room with me. So then the doctor walks in and she's, I worked with her for 3 years. So she's full of tears and she's just like, I didn't expect for you to have this. And it is stage 4 and it's in your liver and lungs. And I go, wait, no. The doctor, the GI surgeon, said liver. Where are you getting lungs from? And she's like, she didn't tell you about your lungs? And I said, no. And she said, let me sit down and talk to you. So she sat down and she's like, yeah, you have stage 4. It's in your liver and your lungs, and we have to get you treatment immediately. And I said, how bad? And she says, pretty bad. And I said, are we going to give me treatment for a short-term goal, or are we giving me treatment for a long-term goal? And she was confused by what I meant. And then I said, if we're treating for short, I don't want treatment. But if we have a long-term goal, then I want treatment. They had the liver biopsy, came back saying it's colon cancer that has spread to these areas. And she's like, there's something in your retroperitoneal area the same, but they're not sure what it is. And I'm like, more, because they redid the scan, reviewed the scan again, and they were like, well, there's something there, we're not sure. Something in your pancreatic head. And I'm like, I don't even know how to process it. I'm a nurse and now I'm a patient. And I know too much and not know enough at the same time. And so the doctor's like, listen, so I start rattling treatment plans. And she's like, wait, you are not the nurse today. You're my patient. I'm going to explain to you what you're getting. And I'm going to explain to you, we have to do immunotherapy and we have to do chemotherapy. And you have to get you're going to have certain rounds to get. I had immunotherapy and chemo for 12 cycles. And then I had to get a scan again done to determine if I could have surgery. Because the goal is to remove the colon so it doesn't cause more cancer. Because FAP is FAP. It doesn't change. And so I finished my 12 cycles. Treatment wasn't too bad, actually. I didn't lose my hair. The biggest thing I had was the hand and foot syndrome, where my hand was discolored, feet discolored, tongue discolored, and then neuropathy. It was the biggest part of my issue. And up until now, I still have that. And so when I finished that, they scanned me again and they check all my numbers, and my numbers dropped from the thousands to like 17s. It dropped. And so when I went to get scanned again, they said lungs were cleared. They didn't see nothing in my lungs. The retroperitoneal area that they were worried about, gone. My liver was the biggest concern because I didn't have my cancer, they called it diffuse metastasis, which means it spread all over my whole entire liver. It didn't go into one corner or one piece or one lobe. And so parts of the different lobes, the cancer shrunk, but they were still there. And so I met with so many doctors to determine, should I have surgery? Should I have transplant? What are they going to do with me? Because the GI surgeon was like, I don't feel comfortable removing your colon while you still have liver mets, because if we take your colon out, you cannot get treatment while you're healing. And that's like an 8 weeks to 10 weeks healing process. And I don't want the cancers to start growing again. And so I saw a liver oncologist surgeon, and she was just like, hey, you could do Y-night, or you could do a treatment, chemo directly into the liver. Go see that doctor, interventional radiologist. I see him, and he's like, yeah, your treatment is working, because they put me on maintenance, immune therapy, and one chemo drug in an interim. And they all agreed, hey, it's working. Let's keep giving you this, and in time we'll rescan you, and maybe you just needed a longer time. You need a longer term to get these liver lesions gone, because a lot of them did go away. You still have some. So maybe if we give you immune therapy and chemotherapy continuously for an additional 6 or 12 more cycles, when we scan you, maybe they'll be gone. The biggest side effect was fatigue. After getting my treatment, 3 or 4 days later, two days after treatment, I'd be zonk for 2 to 3 days, just need sleep. And thankfully, I had the weekend to rest before I could go back to work. Once those 2 days I rested for the weekend, Monday I was back to normal, ready to work. I had the neuropathy, which I still have. Tips of my fingers and tips of my toes are affected by the original treatment I had. And then what I forgot to tell you is that during my treatment, I had this one episode where I was having like, it felt like chest pains. And so when um, I was getting my treatment, and I took some of my treatment was given to me at home, and then I had to take it off. When I go 2 days later, go back to the clinic, they would take off the treatment. So I was one of the days I had the treatment. I was getting it at home, and I was working on things for a wedding. I was getting married, so I was getting stuff ready, and I started having like felt like heartburn. So I went and got a Pepsin. I was like, oh, I have heartburn. Let me get a Pepsin. Popped one in, took a Tums 2 to help. And then it didn't go away. And I kind of was like, oh, chest kind of hurts. And then all of a sudden I felt like significant chest pain. And I was just like, oh, this feels like could be a heart attack. So I had the equipment that gives me the chemo. So I, being a nurse, knew to stop it. Stop it, took my blood pressure. My blood pressure was dropping. And then I had the urge to go to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom, and then when it's time for me to get up, I couldn't muster the strength to get up. So I called my fiance and I'm like, hey, can you help me get back in bed? I'm just not feeling great. And he's like, okay. So as he's walking me, I pass out. And so him and his brother get me into the room on the bed. And like 5 minutes later, everything goes away. I go back to work, and I tell them, the doctor sees me, and she's like, well, one of the treatments you get can cause coronary spasms. And she was like, I think we have to take you off of this and then put you on a pill. And I'm like, I don't really think so. It wasn't that bad. And she's just looking at me like, nurse, patient, I need you to. So they decided to put me on this pill. So they put me on the IV version of it. They put me on the pill. Yeah, that didn't go so great. So I'm supposed to take the pill for 2 weeks on, then 1 week off. I can't make it past 10 days. And because as soon as after 10 days, my hands are swollen. I can't put my feet on the floor. So they're trying to play with my dosage. Like, okay, well, let's give you 7 days on, 7 days off, trying to give me the treatment at the same time managing my symptoms. And so they finally give me a break. They're like, okay, let's give you a 3-week break. Let's let your body reset. So I'm like, okay, Lord, if I'm supposed to take this pill, make it clear. And if I'm not, make it clear. And so I take the pill one day, and I come to work, and I'm working at work, and then all of a sudden my leg felt heavy. And I'm like, why is my leg feeling heavy? And so the good thing about working with your doctor, you could just pop on in and say, hey, can you just check this out? So I walk down there, and I'm like, I don't know. Can you look at my legs? And then she looks at my legs, and she's like, your left leg is swollen. And she's like, does it hurt? And I'm like, no. And then she looks at my hands. She's like, your right arm is swollen. And she's like, your whole left side is swollen. And I was like, yeah, I think it's the pill. And she goes, well, how many pills did you take? And I was like, oh, yeah, a day's worth. And she's like, that doesn't look right. So she's like, okay, don't take any more pills. Let's see what happens. Next day I wake up. My whole entire left side is double the size of my right side. And I call them, I take pictures and I email it, text it to them. And they're like, no, definitely don't take the pill. We can't give you the pill. But we want to make sure you don't have a blood clot. And I go and get the blood clot checked, no blood clot. And so they decided, okay, we got to give you something. So I go, yeah, let's put me back on that other medicine that you were worried about, because I only had it one time spasm. And the doctor just said, reduce my dosage. Probably I will never have a spasm again. And so she was, hesitant. I don't want to make you sick. And I was like, well, the pill is not working. So let's change that. And so they finally put me back on the medication before, and they just, put me on blood pressure medication, just stuff to make sure I don't have spasms. And that went away. So now I'm fine. My faith is what carried me. My family praying for me. I attend a church, and my church family praying for me, and just taking time to accept what's going on, but yet know that I didn't have to be here. Because one of the things the doctor said to me is, I don't know how you're still alive. I don't know how you didn't have symptoms. I don't know how you are working like you were working. It, you don't medically make sense. And I think it's because of my faith. I think it's what kept me grounded, and um, having people, uh, having my coworkers not see me as a cancer patient, but see me as me and treat me as me, and caring for me, my family, husband, everyone, my children, just uh, reminding me that I'm still me, that I'm not my cancer, that I'm not my diagnosis. My husband and my children, or our children, because he has a daughter. I have a son and daughter, and him. So my kids are older; they're in their 20s. One is married, one's getting married, and his daughter's 11. And so they're the reason why I fight every day. They're the reason why I get up in the morning and go, nope, not today. I'm not sick. Move about. Gotta go get. I gotta do my things, because they give me hope. They just go, Mom, you're a fighter. Look at you. Anyone walking down the street would not know you're as sick as the doctors tell you are, and you work hard and you love. And so, no, we don't give up until they say there's nothing else to do. So, because of them, I fight every day. Why I wanted to share my story is because of FAP. It's like 1% of the population who have colon cancer will have this. And I think now that there's more opportunities for people to have genetic testing, um, I want people to at least know of this cancer is not always caused by food or anything that, we talk about BRCA gene for breast cancer, and there's something called APC gene, and not many people know about it. So like in my case, because I have it, and they called me a duo nouveau APC, which means I'm the first person in my family to bring it out. For whatever reason, I got picked. And because of that, my children had to get tested. My daughter got tested and she came out negative for the gene. My son got tested and he had the gene. And then he got a colonoscopy and he ended up with almost close to 1,000 polyps. So he recently just had his colon removed and his rectum removed and reconstructed so that he won't end up with colon cancer like I did. And if there's anybody out there that I can help just to get this, just to get, there's different kinds of genetic testing to get done, and to know that this gene is in their family so they could protect their family in the future. I would look, because I've never heard of APC. I never heard of FAP. I didn't even know what that was until me. And so if I can help people down the line to just get tested, if anyone in their family had cancer or colon cancer, just to get checked to see, because, colonoscopies, we don't do those till you're like 45. And my son, if he hadn't got tested, if he just, or I didn't, or the doctors didn't tell me, oh, he needs to get tested because you could pass it on to him, he could have lived a life until he ended up like me. If anything that was normal all your life and all of a sudden something changes, be vigilant about it. Don't take it for granted. It could be something underlining, hiding that you don't know. So if you ever get any work done and your doctor says, hey, I see this is a little bit off, tell them to check you. Whatever test they can do and insurance will cover, do it. Better to know than not to know.